Welcome into the Cowboys Report, made possible today by RexMD. If you sometimes lack some confidence in the bedroom, if you want a more fulfilling sex life, RexMD here to help make that possible. 90% off and only pay $2 per dosage at rexmd.com/chat. Now, before we get going on today's show, Father's Day was on Sunday, just passed. We did not have a show on Sunday. I was off for Father's Day. We put out the mailbag from earlier in the week, I believe, or a previously filmed segment. So, shout out your dad in the comments section. Show him some late Father's Day love right now. We're going to begin with Tony Pollard and his status with the Dallas Cowboys. Now, ESPN reports Pollard is open to a contract extension with the Dallas Cowboys, which borders a little bit on of course he does, but we'll come back to the details on it here. Now, Pollard, unlike other franchise tag backs, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, has already signed his franchise tag tender, $10.09 million. He is guaranteed that sum this year. There is no getting out of it for the Cowboys. The franchise tag extension deadline is now less than a month away on July 17th. If a long-term deal is done, then it has to be done by then, or else he will play the year on the franchise tag. Now, here's what else Pollard had to say. He's in a situation, I'm told, where he's looking at this as a win-win because he signed his franchise tag tender at the $10.1 million clip, Jeremy Fowler says. He's injured coming off ankle surgery, so he's got that security regardless. Quick note, credit for Fowler getting the ankle surgery right. It was ankle surgery, not leg fracture surgery. But the Cowboys want to step up and try to do a long-term deal. He's certainly open to that. Nothing moving on that yet, but there's a lot of time before that July 17 deadline. Certainly both sides are expected to reconvene and talk about a potential long-term deal. The Cowboys would love to get its cap hit down a little bit so they could sign some other players. Whatever extension the Cowboys would be able to give Tony Pollard would bring his cap hit down, potentially by a significant amount. So it does make some sense for both sides to at least explore the market of a potential extension. The problem that both sides are going into here is that even though Pollard has gotten better every single year from a volume perspective, with no real drop-off in terms of the production, the running back market is not a good one to be involved in. There are plenty of backs, including Barkley and Jacobs, who are unhappy with the way the running back market has played out. A lot of the big-time contracts, Zeke Elliott, Dalvin Cook, those guys did not make it through their contracts. There is a risk that comes with paying a running back, even one with a lighter career workload like Tony Pollard, because the list of guys that have made it worthwhile for their entire contracts is actually pretty short. So do you want to extend Tony Pollard? More on this conversation, what a deal could look like here in a little bit. But first, do you want to? Before the deadline, by the way, before that July 17th deadline, P for pay, W for wait. If the ad plays here on YouTube, take advantage and go vote at the pinned comment. Now, Bleacher Report had a contract idea for Tony Pollard. They had pitched a 3-year deal worth somewhere between $27 and $30 million total. That's $9 to $10 million per year, $15 million guaranteed. And that deal is a pretty solid contract for Pollard, outside of one potential issue that him and his team might approach it as. It's the guaranteed money aspect of it. Because $15 million guaranteed in and of itself looks fine. But when you already have $10 million guaranteed, is the additional $5 really going to move the needle? Surely he thinks he could get at least $5 million guaranteed and more next offseason, right? $15 million in just a normal contract works. That deal, without the franchise tag being a factor, fits. It makes sense. That guaranteed figure of $15 million, actually pretty solid. Beats out, or is the same as Austin Eckler. Beats out the Miles Sanders contract. And by the way, the guaranteed money also shows you the status of the running back market, because you've got 3 rookies on here with the most guaranteed contracts in Bijan, Najee, and Travis Etienne. But it's a 1-year, $10 million deal no matter what right now for Tony Pollard. Does he think he could get a 2-year, let's say, $17 million deal with $5 million guaranteed next offseason? Yeah, I think he thinks he could. Now, the running back market is rough, and there might be something said to not wanting to try to gamble that path and locking yourself into a contract. But Pollard probably only gets one shot at a sizable contract. That's just how life works as a running back in the NFL. You're not normally going to get two cracks at it. By the time you're due for that second crack, you're old. You might have shown some signs of decline, and teams don't pay back the way that they used to. So it's a tricky spot for Tony Pollard, who does have the leverage because he's got $10 million guaranteed already. Now, fellas, if you sometimes lack some confidence in the bedroom, well, we're excited to tell you guys about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. RexMD offers an easy and discreet way to get medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you have your medication delivered straight to your door and at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's teams of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made in the USA so you can trust its quality. Their customer support team is available 24/7 to answer any questions you might have. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life and say goodbye to ED, head over to rexmd.com/chat and start your consultation today. Take advantage of the best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90% off. Only pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. Go to rexmd.com/chat for this limited time deal. Starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis are available to get started. That's rexmd.com/chat for up to 90% off. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Let's talk injury news, notes, and updates now on Jourdan Lewis. This one's not ideal. He faces, I think, a pretty tough path to avoid beginning training camp on the PUP, the physically unable to perform list for the Cowboys. Lewis has told the Dallas Morning News that he was told by the doctors that it was one of the worst Lisfranc injuries they've ever seen in their last 35 years, which doesn't sound good to me. It is unclear, it's at least murky, if Jourdan Lewis will be back in time for week 1, let alone training camp. So this is what Jourdan Lewis had to say on his timeline. We'll see. We don't want to be on the PUP list. I'm going to be having crazy to make sure I'm not on the PUP list. I know by training camp, I'll be cutting and stuff like that, just trying to see if it will be full speed. It was pretty severe. Just getting used to this new foot because I know it will never be back to normal. I just want to be able to play on it again and be efficient. The surgeon said I'll be fine. It's just pushing through that soreness. That's really what we're working through right now. That does not inspire confidence in me. Jourdan has kept referring to it as his new foot, which is probably pretty accurate. Not going to be the same. Doesn't mean it's worse necessarily, but it will be different for him from now on. I would be a little surprised if he was on the active list come day 1 of training camp, because if they're not sure it's going to be full speed, then they're not going to be aggressive and put him on the active list. They'll put him on the PUP list and play it safe, which means Jourdan Lewis can't go. Well, that explains why you've seen some Israel Mukuamu, Kelvin Joseph in there in the nickel. Deron Bland's been getting some outside and some nickel work, too, at minicamp OTAs because they've been giving Diggs and Gilmore rest days. And Deshaun Wright's been banged up. So there is depth at corner, but we'll see about Jourdan Lewis. I think his status is maybe a little bit more murky than what I maybe thought it would be with a more maybe normal Lisfranc injury. So will Jourdan Lewis be ready for week 1? Y for yes, N for no. Get those predictions in for me in the comments section right now. While you're down in the comments, double check, make sure you guys are subscribed or sub for the first time if you haven't already done so. We have free Cowboys videos for you each and every single day, oftentimes multiple times per day. So help us out. Hit that sub button right now for more free Dallas Cowboys YouTube videos. Let's move to Dak Prescott for MVP conversation, which I find interesting. Adam Rank of NFL Network, who also had the Cowboys going 9-8, has Dak as a dark horse MVP candidate. So not sure how we tie those two together as being the same. I also would wonder, can you really be a dark horse MVP candidate if you are the Dallas Cowboys QB? Fair or not, that's kind of always the level of pressure that gets put on the quarterback. But I do think there was a good chance for buzz around Dak, as there's been in years past, if the Cowboys continue to win football games and if his interceptions, as they historically indication that they should, regress back to the mean, which is a positive thing. Will be fewer interceptions for Prescott. Here's what Adam Rank of NFL Network wrote. With Mike McCarthy at the controls and better options out wide, Dak won't come anywhere close to last season's league-high 15 interceptions. I think he sizzles all year long. Supported by a ferocious Micah Parsons-led defense, Prescott should have the 2023 Cowboys squarely in the Super Bowl conversation. And if you're the reason why America's team is a top-notch title contender, well, you're a top-notch MVP candidate. Which, that argument makes sense. Also, I'm not sure I would describe that as dark horse, but I digress. Maybe it was based on the odds, and that's a factor why I counted as dark horse there. Prescott's interceptions did jump in 2022, but the performance overall for the offense was still impressive. If the interceptions can, even if you just get rid of the ones that were off the receiver's hands, if that's the only thing that changes, the offense suddenly seems to have a lot more confidence and be a lot better on that front. But he's been a 30-touchdown-plus guy the last 2 years when healthy, in 2021 and 2019. We will see how this Cowboys offense looks, though, with Mike McCarthy. That is a significant change, and it could lead to fewer points, more consistency, better results, worse results. We don't know yet, and I would bet probably a bit of a slow start as well. So what is the percent chance you think Dak Prescott wins NFL MVP? The answer should be low, by the way, because that's what the odds are. The odds of any one player, even any quarterback winning MVP, are actually still pretty low. So the number should be low, but go ahead and vote for me in the comment section. Because I know many of you guys care, but I did want to check in on the Stefon Diggs situation, since he'd been constantly linked to the Cowboys because of his brother Trayvon, who said, we got to get bro to Dallas. The alleged source of the issues for Stefon Diggs was his role in the offense, the play calling, etc. Diggs was upset about the playoff loss last year. He was screaming at Josh Allen on the sidelines, and I guess that time did not heal that wound necessarily, and he remained fairly upset with the Bills overall. It is kind of interesting and / funny to see Diggs upset about his role, because he was 5th in the NFL in targets last year, which is a lot. Now, there were games where he wasn't as big of a factor, and 30 is still a big gap between him and the guy that replaced him in Minnesota, in Justin Jefferson. And if the Bills had won that game, he wouldn't have been mad anyway. But you didn't win, so the selfish part kind of comes through. I don't have that much interest in a Stefon Diggs trade. I don't know if the drama's worth it. He kind of, I don't trust it. He did it in Minnesota. Now he's doing it in Buffalo. It raises a slight red flag as far as I'm concerned. So that's your Diggs update. Seems like they're past it, but we'll keep an eye on it moving forward.